bans. Ashe, Graves come through. On the opposite side will be Elise and Kled, followed by Lee Sin from EDG.
So RNG showing that the Ashe was really just a primary denial away from Zed. It is a comfort champion. Uzi's done a lot of things with it, but for the first time this series, it will not see Summoner's Rift.
And I heard in between games, apparently Firefox, the coach, has gone home sick, so we'll have a stand-in now for the coach, and that will change the dynamic here.
And that's just so unfortunate because Firefox is so hungry as a coach. He went with IMA to Worlds as one of their analysts. He's bounced around a couple of different teams, including LGD, and he's one of the more vocal, one of the more animated coaches behind the teams. You know that he has a heavy hand in trying to push RNG to be the best that they can and has a lot to prove. So it's unfortunate to miss such a big game like this.
At the same time, RNG seems to be doing pretty well regardless, so he's probably happy on his taxi home watching the game happen, and RNG are still giving it to EDG regardless. So he's happy with what's going on right here. The final ban was Mlxg for RNG towards Meiko. And it will be a first pick of Fireloli's Rengar, which was banned out in the first 3 games.
And that makes the Lulu second rotation on red side that much higher of a priority since Mlxg is banned. She's seen as one of the soft counters to Rengar. He jumps in, he gets turned into a cupcake, that person gets wild growth. There we go. I was going to say, you cannot give Lulu and Rengar to the same team.
It would be surprising if that was the case. So yes, indeed, Lulu will come in here for Ming. And it also sets up a hyper carry for Uzi, and if he wants to go for this crit build on Caitlyn.
Yeah, that's the big thing that also I thought was going to come through. Also, the fact that they want to put Zet on the back foot, it should mean that we'll probably get a Varus in this rotation, possibly a Karma if EDG want to stay true to a flex pick and start opening up possibilities for Meiko. That said, Meiko is comfortable to go the Zyra and Thresh route into Lulu in particular.
EDG will lock in their bot lane as well, at least with the AD carry as Varus comes through here for Zed. But it just makes sense from EDG. They have been trying to set up their bot lane for success, at least try and meet Uzi and Ming halfway. And it will be the Karma as well for Flex.
So there you go. A lot of push priority if that decides to go down into the bottom lane. And it's flex after flex after flex. That could go in Mlxg's hands. LetME also plays a phenomenal Gragas. It's one of the few tanks that I think he actually plays quite well.
It's also like he has pressure in lane, and specifically in the early game, in that early laning phase, so he can exacerbate that pressure that Gragas has. So it's one of those picks as a tank that will play double duty, but on the opposite side it will be RNG taking Zed away from Scout, prevent all of those big playmaking champions away from him, while LeBlanc aims at XiaoHu.
So many signature champions being pulled off the board. I have no doubt that Scout would feel confident going back towards Zed when his back is to the wall, really look for that comfort pick, but not going to be an option. And again, 7.7, he can't change things up and look towards the Talon. Talon got significant nerfs on the patch. That Q certainly doesn't hurt as much as it once did, especially in those early games.
Orianna ban towards Scout as well, so it's all about this mid lane. I would expect to see a ban towards the Stoneweaver.
Yeah, Taliyah, Jace, even Victor, if we want to start looking towards those fringe picks, are all available, as well as Syndra if you want to go more towards the OG. A wealth of options for both these mid laners.
Final ban, 10 seconds remaining from EDG. Where else would they go? Top lane as well, I guess, but do have the flex coming in. It's going to be Fizz, so that does make sense. I'm not going to let LetME have his hands on that because Fizz has been incredibly damaging towards EDG over this series.
That might
but it does open up Taliyah.
I was going to say that also forces LetMe's hands onto the Gragas because there's not a lot of other champions that he can really reach for. His Kled is still available. That would be really cool to see since RNG do have that 1-game buffer if they want to continue to put him on a comfort champion.
It's actually taken away in the first set of bans, so while you're 100% right, it would be a good pick for him. He can't play it in this game, unfortunately.
So excited.
Me too. I want to see some Kled action, but he's just too good of the champion. So EDG are going to take it away. Regardless, Nautilus will come in here from EDG. That will go to the top lane, maybe.
We don't know.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. There's a Karma as a flex and Nautilus as a flex. So we don't know just yet, but we are looking towards that final pickup now from EDG.
That would sort everything out.
It would. It would lock it all in for us.
I'm going to assume that Karma is the support champion. I'm writing this down in Ink Scout.
All right, thank you. Last pick will be the Ryze towards Scout. It means Karma in support, Nautilus top lane. We've all worked out for EDG. Now RNG, final pick for them. It will be a top laner or jungle. Trying to think where else LetME could possibly go. Ah, yes, well, Camille was still open. However, Camille has not really seen too much priority on 7.7. because she had a bunch of nerfs, has been nerf battered like 7 times. So players did start moving away from the pick, but maybe LetME can make it work.
Yeah, her trading window's no longer as strong as they used to be, and on 7.7, I believe was the ultimate nerfs that came through, so the duration on, what is it, Ultimatum?
The Hextech Ultimatum.
There we go, is shortened. I believe it's 2 seconds now at level 1 instead of 4 seconds, and ramps up to the time that it originally had. So Camille no longer feeling as strong as she did, but LetME did get to see the matchup that he was going into ahead of time, so still prioritizing that counter pick for him and making sure that he's on a comfortable champion.
Either way, we do have those full compositions coming through, and it does mean a Gragas into the jungle, though, so did have that last swap up, and once again, the coaches will shake hands as it is 4th game match point for RNG. And they're so close to going over to China for these grand finals here in spring for the LPL.
And so much gambled on Fireloli's knife cap there. He gets the Rengar. We saw the damage that Condi did with that champion earlier on in the day. It has been pretty much permaban, not just in the LPL, but globally.
Yeah. But
can EDG protect Fireloli long enough for him to get to that level 6 to start snowballing those lanes and using that ult effectively? Yeah,
it's like, what type of pull will they give him? Will they actually just give him the, what was the XiaoHu special, where they'll basically give him the red buff and he'll take the entire camp on Raptors and go towards this one? We'll see. But they're up against the EDG. Need this win to stay alive. See, the players have just hit the rift and will begin in there shortly as well.
The other guy on your screen, Uzi there, did
Intense.
Also got a signature champion. He gets to kind of sit back, play Caitlyn, walk himself into an LPL finals, hopefully.
Well, he's going to put his team on his back, but at the same time, you've got XiaoHu on a carry, LetME on a carry, Mlxg who can really put in some work, so you've got so many pressure points in RNG. We could see a very similar game to Game 1 if the early game goes their way, but we're now hitting the rift for RNG up against EDG. Match point for RNG. Let's see if they can take it all away. There's actually someone rallying the crowd as well. That's pretty cool. Usually the Chinese fans are a little bit more reserved, but when they have all of these star players on the field, how could you not be excited?
Uzi's on the field on Caitlyn. I know I'm excited. Now let's talk about what RNG's composition can do. It's actually incredibly good at sieging. We know that Taliyah's wall is so important and potent for cutting off those structures. You've got the Caitlyn there, the ability to augment her attack speed with Lulu, and then you also have the ability to play in a side lane. So I feel like RNG are set up perfectly for a 4-1 with the disengage from Mlxg's cask to keep them all safe, bunched up in the middle.
Now, at the same time, when we beat down on these lane matchups, of course the 2 versus 2 in the bottom lane, Uzi and Lulu picked up here, so we'll have comparable lane pressure, if not better, towards Zed and Meiko, who are now on this Varus and Karma.
Still relatively difficult to keep up with the wave clear of Karma and the line AoE of Varus.
Very difficult. Meanwhile, in the jungle, Mlxg just starting off on this blue buff, and bot lane not going to help their junglers. They really want to cement their lead in this bottom lane, or at least go even here if you're both sides of this matchup, which means that Fireloli will have a slightly slower start to his jungle.
Yep, but it looks like Ming and Uzi are going to win that race there. Even though the headshot was used on a creep, you saw the immediate hesitation from Zet and Meiko as soon as they saw it. They backed up into the brush and let the extra creep advantage go. But otherwise, a pretty standard start from both junglers, like you said, because Rengar didn't get that leash, moving a bit slower through his jungle.
Now looking at this mid lane as well, XiaoHu again getting his hands on his Taliyah. And he got the MVP in last game. You'd actually think that EDG would put more priority on towards XiaoHu and take away this incredibly strong pick from him. So it's something that Scout really has to try and shut down here. Bot lane is now being shoved in once more.
And then it opens up so much ability to play around this bottom lane to try to get Caitlyn's Uzi snowball, because you can start cheating down with Taliyah's ultimate with that passive. So hopefully it's Scout's turn to try to keep XiaoHu locked down and not the other way around.
Junglers are making their way towards top side, where we actually get to see LetME and Mouse going head to head. As you were talking about, the ultimate now ramps up and how long it actually stays on the field. 2.5 seconds at rank 1 up to 4, its original value at all ranks. And also W no longer heals off minions. So that's also incredibly big, because before, Camille could choose what ability she wants to go towards. If it was Q, W, E, we actually saw a lot of Camille's even go towards the Q max regardless, just because of how it transitions into the mid and late game. But it was always an option to go for W for the extra sustain. Very obnoxious, and it meant that she could win almost every matchup. This time around will be almost pigeonholed into going for that Q max.
Messing with those trade windows there, although LetME still doing a phenomenal job, at least early on in that matchup. Has a CS lead as well as a push priority lead, and he's transferring that into trying to figure out where Fireloli is. So, no surprise that Rengar has come and gone and is now on his Krug camp, but that means that RNG know exactly where he is.
Down comes XiaoHu. Scry's Bloom comes across, and hey, how's it going, Fireloli? I know exactly where you are. Just trying to get towards that level 6 right now. This is pretty much his only agenda. Bot lane still shoving in. Uzi is gradually getting further and further ahead of Zet though. Minion wave by minion wave.
Good sidestep there from Uzi. Ming even gave him his shield just in case.
Yeah, Ming knows where he stands in this lane. He will always give that shield over to Uzi.
You are Janna 2.0 and you will act like it.
Yeah, you will max your shield in this lane. Fireloli has to go down this river, but he's going to be caught by Uzi, who's on his way and finds him in the trap, finds him in another one. Fireloli will turn it around, has to flash away. And Mlxg actually jumped there as well. That was probably an unnecessary flash from Mlxg, but regardless, RNG will get that little bit of punish there onto Fireloli.
And just a huge decision-making error from Fireloli, thinking that he could even peek down into that bottom river when his bot lane doesn't have control of it. Good heads-up performance from Uzi and Ming to make the rotation, and now Fireloli doesn't have flash.
Pretty nice. Taking a bit of damage, but we'll 90 caliber net out of that danger. We're just really is ramping up in these lanes at this point in time. No massive points of action.
But what this does mean is that Uzi and Ming are free to continue to be aggressive here and try to eke out these small CS advantages that they have been finding farther. Although Meiko and Zet seem to be planting their feet a bit firmer here.
For sure. Meiko's basically out of mana though, so as soon as Uzi realizes that, he'll walk up and start taking pot shots. You on the mid lane, looks like there's a bit of a confidence going on as Mlxg will walk over, but looks like he wants to take away some of these wards, some of this vision. XiaoHu's going to take a lot of damage from Scout, who gets the double duration on his Rune Prison there. Ming, poor! Will have to go back behind his tower and take a trip back to base. And Uzi now being chased down by Meiko. All of a sudden, EDG's bottom lane just turned it on.
And it's because they have information about where Mlxg was. So shoes on the other foot, they now get to go aggressive because they know where the enemy jungler was spotted out by that beautiful vision that's set up in EDG's bottom side river.
Fireloli on his way to the mid lane. XiaoHu may have to burn his flash right here. Indeed he does, as the bowler lands and Scout will follow up, even more damage, but he's out of mana and Fireloli has no flash.
Needs to make sure that he rinses and repeats, however, and follows up with that. Like you said, Scout still has his flash, so that could be a guaranteed kill if he finds the snare.
Fireloli going back into his jungle now. A little bit of a sad kitty cat, but he's still working his way towards that level 6.
But what this does for us is that Mlxg needs to pay attention to XiaoHu, or Taliyah needs to be that much safer. Either Gragas is going to sit and try to babysit her, knowing that she has this huge target on her, or XiaoHu will be able to absorb all of that pressure, just safely wave clear and use his passive as an escape route, and allow Mlxg to focus on other areas of the map.
Uzi back in lane now. Actually, he still hasn't gone back. He's just been sticking around, and Zet will have to clear out this whole minion wave by himself. Meiko was coming down, probably just to try and stop the recalls. Also do a bit of damage to Ming. Okay. Random shield there as well. I tried, Uzi. I wanted to block it for you. Uzi wants to go back to base anyway. He's got 56 farm, which should allow him to pick up the BF sword and probably potions. And actually goes for the boots as well, and refillable, so perfect back timing for him.
Feeling good about that one. Answers the question, what does the Caitlyn god himself choose to itemize on here? Blade of the Ruined King or Infinity Edge?
Infinity Edge. Took me a second. I was thinking about mid lane, and it's just like, oh, yes, should be that one. But definitely in this game, he is set up to be a big carry on the team, especially with Ming down there, being on that Lulu. And XiaoHu taking this move up. Didn't even think about that synergy. Mlxg will be able to body slam people into those mines on the floor when the Unraveled Earth comes in from XiaoHu.
Hold on though, play being built up top lane. It's Scout and Fireloli trying to find LetME. See if the communication comes through. They know that Scout's missing, and they back off.
Wanted to warp in, but level 7 Camille, first back with Sheen, and with the ultimatum, a little bit scary to try and dive, even with a Nautilus.
It was a clever play from EDG trying to abuse the blue buff timer, knowing that Mlxg and XiaoHu would be on the bottom side of the map. So again, good heads up from LetME and good cross-map communication from RNG to keep their top laner safe and absorb any sort of momentum that EDG had for that small window. But they're trying to push it anyway.
They have a small window because they know everyone's on top side, but let's see if they can do it. LetME is dropping low, but in with the ultimatum, blocking out some of this damage, jumps up to the wall and back onto Mouse, but he is good to go. First blood to Fireloli.
Beautifully executed there from EDG, and even better the fact that the Rengar is the big benefactor of that first blood. Now it forces RNG to rotate 2 members up here just to make sure that first brick doesn't go down.
As they get up there, and Mlxg may even have to burn his ultimate. It's going to be the wall. XiaoHu activating his drum card.
And the thing is,
oh, hello. Going in here, trying to work that synergy with the Unraveled Earth once more.
So while the forced rotation is kind of the cherry on top, is because it means that there's absolutely no trade that RNG are going to get back. Not even like a free minion wave for XiaoHu to just sit in that mid lane and force it away from Scout.
And Zet has actually pretty good control over this lane now. You can see he's stepping into this rush. Uzi and Ming have to respect. And has evened up the goal totals in terms of farm. So the fact that Zed and Meiko are holding their own against Uzi and Ming in its match point game means so much for EDG.
But I still feel like a majority of the heavy lifting is being done by Meiko in terms of the 2v2 power. And it's pretty much just Ming and Uzi playing around that Q cooldown window. Does Karma have the ability to poke us out? Okay, maybe now we can go and look for the chunk. But otherwise, Meiko is just being so punishing there.
Yeah, he's doing a great job of just keeping his AD carry afloat, because Zet will do Zet things when it gets to these team fights. And man, Ming has lost all of his health pretty much just from Meiko alone, and we'll have to go back here out of refillable potion stacks.
Ming seems to really struggle on kind of caster supports. Yeah, he can play the likes of the Zyra, he can play the likes of the Karma, but more so those aggressive forward-moving supports that make these plays happen. When he's on something like the Lulu, like the Nami, I feel like he's constantly playing on the back foot.
Yeah, for sure. Ming, I mean, if it was up to Ming, he'd play Leona every game, but he can't, unfortunately.
If it was up to me, he'd play Leona every game. I am aboard that train, but hold on mid lane. Weaver's Wall not quite up, so XiaoHu can't follow the play.
Yeah, not going to happen here. Top lane has been stabilized, and the fact that Mouse got his first back, the fact that he actually went for Balmy, Cinder, and the Dark Steel shows how confident he is in this matchup that LetME isn't going to shove him out. So that is incredibly good for Mouse up here. Meanwhile, Fireloli has been spotted, and there are many on the way pings. I wonder what's going to happen next, Frosk.
I feel like someone's about to get pinched. Yep, it's going to be Ming.
Fireloli pops the ultimate.
Even Mouse making a rotation down here. But the problem is that Zet is in base, and they do not see Uzi, as well as RNG, make it to safety. So, a bit of a wasted cooldown there.
Yeah, just in the end, but it is worth popping, because if you do find that engage, then it does pan out exceptionally well. And that could be another advantage to EDG. Take a look at Scout, though. He's level 9 and has not put a point in his ultimate yet. So, he's actually waiting until mid-game before they look for a play. Values the extra damage from the spell flux.
Yeah, focusing on those 1v1 trades in his lane matchup.
He's going to chase after XiaoHu, and he's actually going to flash the wall, lock him down. Instant cleanse comes out. XiaoHu still under attack, comes in with the spell flux, and he's probably confirmed this kill. Dodges the overload, turns it around, not enough damage. Scout gets the 1v1 kill.
No ult, no problem. But meanwhile, RNG are in a race to try to get this tower down, and they're racing with the bottom lane.
Mouse is incredibly manly, is trying to block off all of this aggression. 1 versus 4, clears out the minion wave, but now he's under attack and will fall. He's created his own mouse trap, and down goes Mouse.
And then the Fire Nation attacked. What are you doing there?
He tried his hardest.
Oh, deep teleport flank, however, coming out of LetME.
Scout's slow, man. He could get this instant assassination onto him. Fireloli knows what's coming. What a bowler! And Scout, now he's activated the ultimate, and he gets the safety.
Picks it up at level 10, so not only does he find the 1v1 kill on XiaoHu, runs him down, but then, what, the swag leave? Just beam me up, Scotty, get me out of here.
Amazing. Fireloli, the homie, blocking out that aggression from LetME. What a bowler as well, like stopping him in his tracks as soon as he was pinned against the wall. So good. Fireloli has, I mean, this is what we do expect from Fireloli. You know, he's not clear loved, but actually this season you could argue he's been even better. The 1 week that Clearlove came in, Fireloli had clearly outshone him.
It changes the responsibility and the dynamic of this version of EDG versus last split's version of EDG. It used to be that EDG would actually keep their towers up as long as possible to isolate jungle matchups and exploit Clearlove's power over the other jungler. With Fireloli, they take towers incredibly quickly, and it's more so using him as a facilitator or a secondary support tool for the likes of Scout or for the likes of Zet and Meiko.
This early game is going very well for EDG. They've gone back to a classic composition from EDG, something that worked for them, very solid composition. And that has resulted in some early kills for them as they ramp up towards this mid game.
Has a lot of nice bridging points in that you have Ryze who can take over a late game. Varus will do well incredibly late game, but he also spikes around the mid game off of both of those, lethality and the Hurricane build. Even Karma on support will do decent damage to the early game, so I just like all the different pieces.
Well, didn't land on that one, but it was worth the attempt from Mouse. And actually, I mean, it burnt the flash from Uzi, so at the very least, trading flash for flash, top laner for AD carry when you still have depth charge, pretty good.
Yeah, 100%. That's the big thing that you said, the fact that they have the depth charge, so they don't even need to find the skill shot at this point. They can just press the targetable ult on him, and he can only create distance with his Caliber net.
LetME will be the one-man stalling army trying to keep people off Uzi at this point. So it feels like he will have to play more defensively than offensively in these fights.
But now RNG are really getting punished by the Dragon RNG. The fact that it's a cloud means that EDG don't have to play towards the bottom side of the map if they don't want to, although you see a ton of pings going down on it, so I guess old habits die hard. EDG used to have one of the highest Dragon control rates of any team in the LPL, and they're like, Cloud, we're taking it.
I'm just saying, I have no idea what's happening in this series. This is the 4th game in the row, and it's pretty much only been Clouds and Oceans. For 4 games, we saw 1 mountain. I'm pretty sure we haven't seen a single Infernal.
We gotta leave all of the Infernals in the mountains for the finals, Pulse. We're getting all of it out of the way.
We're stockpiling. Okay. All right. I can get on board with that. Fireloli and Scout making their way towards it. Trying to burn it down. Was that Ryze? Is that what Mandarin Ryze sounds like? Okay. There, I learned something new. Here comes Meiko. And this is going to be completely blocked off from RNG. Not going to try and contest it whatsoever.
We got one!
First Dragon over to EDG. Look at those rotations.
But we also got an Infernal Drake coming up at around 21 to 22 minutes there. So finally, we're on the board.
Yep.
We got something to fight for.
All of the dragons are being loaded into the van for China, but one managed to escape, getting into the semi-final game. So might see a bit of a scrap over that one.
But now our attention should focus towards the top side of the map. So you can see that Zet's trying to get control over the mid lane. He wants to shove that in, and then he's going to start immediately cutting topside with the area that Meiko and Fireloli have started setting up for him here. So someone needs to get top or trade something with LetME. If they're going to commit bottom, they need to do it now.
Yeah, LetME has gone back to base. He doesn't have TP, unfortunately, but I don't think it's going to matter. Mlxg and XiaoHu is enough pressure to force Mouse away, where they should be able to take this tower. I think Ming was also out of Fog of War, so Scout will take the top tower and maintain EDG's 1 tower advantage. But the fact that it was traded on the bot side does speak towards good things for RNG.
And EDG looks like they're going to continue to push through, and this is one of the scary things. So Ming and Uzi are rotating.
Oh, it's a bit scary for Mouse. He'll turn around, pop the ultimate. XiaoHu's low on mana, though. Nice body slam, and lands the ultimate as well. Mouse is 100% dead. Fantastically played from Mlxg.
But was it enough to lose your inner tower like that? Mlxg and XiaoHu will try to make the best and do what they can to push it back, but I don't think they have the creep wave for Gragas and Taliyah.
Yeah, tempo's still over to EDG as well, so they are looking towards this mid tower. They are slowly killing this one, but it will go over to RNG. I love the fact that the observers have just allowed us to watch the entire takedown of the tower.
Oh, but here comes EDG. Can they get out in time? Realm Warp!
Scout's on the way. He's bringing friends. But,
jump!
Oh, the teleports. XiaoHu, Mlxg, again, will be there. Will sacrifice his life. My life for Aya. Get out of there.
But he didn't need to. He could have just Best Friends Club held hands.
Nope, he needed to go in, sacrifice himself to the oncoming zombie horde.
I will throw myself on the blade for you, XiaoHu.
Yep.
The true prince. Yeah. The true little tiger.
Why don't you just come with me? No, this is my time in the storyline. Heroic.
So, all said and done, RNG actually matched perfectly with EDG, and you can see that displayed in the gold because we have gone nowhere with this gold difference. It's a slight advantage to EDG, but this game is just a tug of war of inches right now.
It is indeed. Both teams are actually playing pretty high tempo, honestly. We see a lot of games when it gets to match points in these best of fives, teams slow down, and it's waiting for those small advantages and small disadvantages. What trades can we find? But this has been all systems go. 18 minutes, and 7 towers have gone down, 5 kills. Next dragon's going to be Infernal. And you can bet your bottom dollar that both teams are going to try and contest it.
But it's a slight easier road for RNG to contest it just because they have control over the bottom side of the map since there's less towers to stop any sort of push that builds up. Whereas EDG's 2-tower advantage really won't kick in until that Baron does.
I even think XiaoHu was expecting to land that, to be honest, because he didn't throw out the Unraveled Earth until it had already connected.
Then it goes sideways. He's like, oh, whoops.
Yeah, whoops. Because that actually probably could have been a kill onto Meiko had he trusted himself.
I feel like most Taliyahs are actually just shocked about how much damage they do still.
Yeah, still pretty crazy. Fireloli starting off this Herald. He's going to give it over to. Might be himself, actually.
Would help with the, assassination potential.
Yeah, find those picks. You don't really give it to Mouse, I suppose. But yeah, it makes more sense for Fireloli to take it, so I guess it seems to help. We're now almost 20 minutes into this game.
And right now we're really in a gentleman's agreement. It's still relatively difficult for how early it is in the game to siege any more of these towers without everyone's cooperation.
Sure.
And we really don't have the vision set up for it. It's Infernal that's spawning in 2 minutes, so all of these wards need to be picked up and moved towards the bottom side of the map. So everyone's just racing to every resource that they can in terms of gold to farm as quickly as possible for that 1 minute 43 fight.
That's the goal. And Zet has completed his Phantom Dancer on top of his Blade of the Ruin King here. On the opposite side, Uzi is still making his way towards the Infinity Edge. Of course, it is a little bit more expensive than the build that Zet is aiming towards, so Uzi would really like the Infinity Edge before we find ourselves in a dragon fight. Would increase his damage exponentially. LetME has completed his first big item, is working his way towards a Titanic Hydra as well.
Here we go, though. EDG is trying to abuse the fact that they have control of the bottom side of the map by pushing that wave forward, while RNG are actually trying to pull EDG towards the top side of the map by pushing theirs forward.
And there's the Infinity Edge from Uzi. So all of a sudden, EDG makes it a lot harder for them to go for these fights. Taking out this vision. And EDG are taking everything away from this Baron area. Check out the amount of wards they have over this. Triple control wards. He just moved one of those control wards forwards, in fact.
I'm saying we don't even need to fight over the Infernal. We could look to fight over the Baron, or if the Infernal fight goes sideways, you immediately rotate into the Baron, and EDG have primed, prepped, and cleared that entire area.
Plus they have a Zet, who is dealing a lot of damage. 2 items with a % damage on Baron. And EDG, yeah, may not even have to fight RNG head-on. Like a bull and a matador, they can just run around them.
RNG are just giving this away, though. I think they feel the pressure of the Baron as well, so they're giving away all semblance of control over this Infernal by just trying to deny the vision that EDG have placed over the Baron.
EDG to start it off. RNG gives them a bit of time to clear out this vision away from them, but they spent so much time doing so. EDG might just take the dragon uncontested. RNG are moving towards the Baron, though, but they haven't pulled the trigger, so bit random.
But this is such an easy call for EDG just to call their bluff and start shoving up the mid lane. RNG are actually just out of position. They're going to lose the Infernal and they're going to lose the inside track on mid. EDG, just push it.
That's what they're doing. LetME is waiting in the brush on top of Mouse, waiting for Titan's Wrath to dissipate, but doesn't really want the fight. Sidesteps Dredge line.
They're getting so distracted with the Baron, they didn't realize how out of position RNG were. Like, look at how long it took them to get 3 members onto that mid lane tower. But they want their items, they want to take it slow. Makes sense, back to the wall. If they lose here, they lose the series. It would cost them their entire split.
Would indeed. Then again, even if they lose here, they would be down into 3rd place match, which, to be honest, is not that bad for EDG, but this is EDG at the end of the day. You expect a finals performance from them.
Anything other than first tastes bad to an EDG fan.
That's true, but it is a different era, and at some point, people need to start thinking about that fact. And while they have been very good at working with the resources that they have, it is a different lineup. Maybe they need that rebuilding period here in spring as they look towards summer. That being said, they are not down and out of this series just yet. League to 2 still have the advantage up against RNG, but they are not taking everything that they can. And it's just a difference between EDG shot calling and RNG shot calling. Like, even when EDG had the Baron in game 2, RNG were like, maybe we can take mid. We'll give it a go. We'll give it a shot. But that is the difference between what they're aiming towards, and that was very scary. But the ultimate used on top of XiaoHu has to flash the wall. Ultimate for flash, good trade.
RNG just not ready for Karma to come flying around that corner. They could have very easily killed Meiko there. And I was about to comment, look at how much of a difference it makes for EDG's vision when Meiko's not constantly dead. True, he's 0-0-0 at 23 minutes. Not a great scoreline, but at least there's wards on the map.
In related news, water is wet. When your support is alive, they put down more vision.
Just saying, that Zyra game, that was rough to watch.
Yeah, it was. But it wasn't just Meiko. It was Zet, Scout, pretty much everyone outside of Mouse getting caught out of position. And that was not the best, not the biggest highlight of EDG, but they were behind with knife and thing.
This is one of my issues with EDG, though, or this iteration of EDG, is just they've always been a team that's been obsessed with Baron,
right.
But I feel like this roster in particular, there are different ways to skin a cat. They could end this game and continue to siege these towers without reliance on the Baron. Yes, it's across from a Taliyah, a Caitlyn, and a Gragas, so it's difficult to do. But I just feel like they're causing a hiatus for Uzi to get closer and closer to that 3-item, power spike and out of this trough for Caitlyn, and nothing's really happening for them. And they need to take onus and either commit to the Baron and be brave, or try to continue to pull RNG around the map, because they've been doing a good job trading structures or getting free ones with RNG being out of position.
It's true, there is a window for them to abuse. That being said, I'm wondering why XiaoHu is in bottom side. Because he is staying out of vision, you can see very carefully behind the minions. What is he looking for? Because he doesn't have TP, so if this goes wrong, if EDG pulled the trigger, call the bluff, then he might just take Baron. I
mean, he's assuming that someone's going to be down here to stop the Camille, and they want to find the cute 2v1. And then he feels that he would have enough mobility and that the team could stall late enough that he would get back with them.
Oh, it's a big gambit, but if it pays off, it could be huge for them.
He hasn't been spotted just yet.
And he's going in. Mouse, there's no tower here. Hextech ultimatum, and Mouse is locked into this fight. Lands the ultimate on top of XiaoHu, but he is so low, and he will not be able to get out of this one. The gambit pays dividends.
And EDG can do nothing in response because RNG are all prepped and ready. They're right next to that Baron pit. And suddenly now, shoes on the other foot, they need to respond to the tempo that RNG have created. Again, this hiatus, this pause, it felt wrong from EDG, and RNG punished them.
XiaoHu has the ultimate. He's looking for the flank. As soon as he sees anyone from EDG, he will pull the trigger.
They're pushing this tower. They've got a wave
Meiko,
coming. No!
Not the place to walk. Not again, but jumps away. And will not die in this one. Just has to burn the flash for that mistake.
This is an easy Weaver's Wall to take this tower for free. In fact, he doesn't even need to use the ultimate because Meiko lost all of his health and there's no way they can step forward. Now all of this precious time and all of this vision that EDG have been placing over the Baron, that's all going to be gone as well. Or it should be. RNG, hello? Team?
Oh, they back away. They
Please
see this minion wave on the top side, and XiaoHu really wants it. Everyone else goes back to base to complete their items.
What are you doing?
I don't know. EDG, if they catch wind of this, the fact that everyone just started their recalls. Okay, they're staggering them now. But EDG now have complete control over this Baron area. They will take away all of these wards.
Feels bad.
All right, Frost, explain to me what RNG should have done in that situation.
They should have backed up to the Baron pit as a unit, cleared out the... at least checked it to see if there was anything laid in it, like a control ward sitting there. Swept it at least, but they didn't. They then had to stagger their backs, realizing their mistake that no one checked the pit, and had to stay around, delaying any of their power, which now gives huge tempo advantage back to EDG, because they have more members who are ready to go on the Rift.
With the high-intensity pings onto the mid lane, you know EDG are on their way. Here comes the wall in from XiaoHu, locks EDG into this fight. Meiko goes down, and Uzi is popping off. He jumps onto Zed. He has to flash the wall. Mouse now caught in enemy territory, and XiaoHu trying to make it away, but Scout finds the assassination behind the tower. Mlxg chasing down Mouse now with Ming and Uzi in pursuit. LetME is also following behind, but it looks like it will be the sacrificial Mouse on this one. He gets slowed down by Mlxg. There is nowhere to go. The Titan of the Depths is down. 2 more kills to RNG, and LetME is still on the hunt.
And the chase potential cannot be understated.
The ultimatum onto Scout, and that will seal his death warrant on this one because Mlxg is in pursuit on the chase, and LetME gets the kill. Uzi with the last auto, like the headshot on that one.
And that single 5v5 may cost EDG their entire split, because that's going to be the free Baron for RNG. They're not punished for the mistake. Yeah, they didn't clear out the pit, but EDG didn't place any vision to watch for the Mlxg flank.
Trying to disrupt them, Meiko and Zet, all that stand between RNG and taking this Baron is going to be close, but Mlxg will secure it. Looking for these recalls, who can get out of this pit now? Everyone has a dash, unfortunately Ming does not, and he will be the sacrificial Lulu, but that is one death for a Baron over to RNG.
They could have saved him. Or not at least saved him, but traded 1 for 1. I think Uzi just left him to die. And this is the big thing. Mlxg goes massive here. He finds a belly bop on 2 members and then Cass. Meiko's immediately dead. Fantastic Weaver's Wall from XiaoHu. Wow, I thought for a second he didn't get out. I was going to say, yeah, Ryze finds it on the back half. Uzi blows up Varus on the front half. And EDG just falling apart right when it matters.
A final kill to Uzi to end that one. It was just the extended chase as well. LetME eventually caught up, landed the ultimatum, and that was it. End of the story.
Again, look at EDG's vision. You know, they had control of the Baron pit, but they didn't move for that triangle vision into the red buff. That's so important and fundamental to sieging the inner mid tower. And Gragas just found the underbelly.
RNG gaining control of this game. It's really about this Baron power play now for us, because EDG, they did have the advantage, but now RNG slightly ahead in terms of the Baron power play, but it's more about what can they do with it. Can they crack any of these towers? Because if EDG can draw the line in the sand and stop RNG, stabilize, it's what they need to do.
I mean, the last time RNG had a Baron like this, EDG were indecisive, couldn't figure out what they wanted.
Here comes the war, and they trap Meiko on the other side. Mlxg will finish him off.
Easy pickings. They should give this up. They don't want to lose any more members, and perhaps the game as a big creep wave has been built behind RNG.
The tower falls, going to turn the next one into rubble. RNG will continue the assault. Mouse pops the ultimate, knocks up Xiao. He was on the front lines, looking for that dredge line, but he goes into the Zhonya's. Mlxg right on top of him, and he will trade his life for this one, but he is still alive. Fireloli dropping low. Uzi following after the one-man army underneath the tower, but eventually backs away. Mlxg is still alive.
Oh, so close there from EDG. That was just a couple of crits short of disaster for them, but that said, the play pays off. Risky, but they absorb RNG and they send them back.
And that's all that EDG needed to do. I mean, that kill would have been the cherry on top, but regardless, they have stymied the push, weathered the storm. And RNG need to regroup, pick up those items. LetME did just complete his Titanic Hydra. So, it is getting worse and worse, darker and darker days for EDG as this goes on. Guinsoo is now completed as well from Zet. He's on 3 items, and he is ramping up.
But I like the fact that you pointed out Camille's items, because yes, she has seen Nurse on 7.7, but eventually she will get to that tipping point where you just can't deal with her, which means that there's another string in RNG's bow. But hold on, because Mouse, can you get out in time?
No, has to cancel the TP, and there are traps all over the place. Mouse is not going to get out, but he's going to try his best to just store as much time as he possibly can. Think about how tanky he would have been in the team fight for that front line, but called off in the top lane.
And that might be another tower falling for EDG, as RNG are now going to crash on the top side of the map. It gets that much more dangerous to stand on that front line, like you said, because they don't have that tank. And if they die that close to their base...
Could be curtains on this series. RNG stepping up, taking this inner tower. We're not going to see a contest from EDG. They cannot at this stage in the game. Scout recalls back to base. We're trying to hold. Here comes the wall. And Zet caught off in the corner of this one. Drops the Chain of Corruption. This wall is so oppressive. And that will crack open the base. RNG playing it by the book. 5 seconds left on Mouse. EDG, once he respawns, it is their time to go. But the engage happens from Mlxg, and it is a 4 versus 5. Scout goes down, but he does have the redemption. He flashes away. Meiko doing what he can to keep him alive. Turns it around onto LetME. He has to flash away. Mlxg staying on his front lines, doing what he can for Uzi, letting him in. but a miraculous defense from EDG.
And Scout is the hero that EDG do not deserve. It is time and time again. He's almost built a reputation on his ability to 1v9 pull EDG out of Mount Doom and back into games. That is absurd. He saves their life once again.
Shoutouts to Meiko as well. Some clutch shielding in there. And a redemption coming down just at the right time to keep him alive.
And we had questions. This is a very different EDG that the global audience is used to seeing. Do they have the mental fortitude to come back in a series when they're this far down? Scout's got a lot of professional experience with the team, but the likes of Mouse, Fireloli, Zet, they don't. And Mouse is having a really rough game right now. 0-5-1 on this Nautilus. It just feels like the veneer is starting to crack a little bit.
Yeah, and Mouse had a lot of experience with the old line, of course, but this new one, new blood, new team. They're going to take up this one. He has lifesteal, so he's good to go, but still 5 to 8 in kills. 34 minutes into this game. Triple Dragons over to EDG. But RNG turn it all around, and we have a fight opening up. In fact, Mlxg looking for the initiate. Big barrel going down. Mouse doing the tanking that he can. LetME coming in for this flank now. Everyone stacked on top of each other from EDG. Places down the ward. Hookshot comes in, looking for the ultimatum. Just right on top of Meiko. Needs to get out of this fight. Meiko's dropping low, but Mouse doing what he can to keep him alive. But a big crit out there from Uzi. And that's a kill down. 5 versus 4 now.
It's also their base being flooded with super creeps up in the top lane. XiaoHu also trying to preserve that creep wave.
Yeah, but he also blocked off his own team while that was happening, but it did give time for Uzi to take away this red buff and now move into this bottom side.
What he did was also build up 2 massive waves, because it's going to crash in right behind them. There are so many open wounds in EDG's base right now.
And LetME, he's just diving in, being an annoying mosquito off to the side, chipping away at this one. EDG needs to try and find that defense, but Uzi does so much damage, turns it onto Fireloli. Ming, meanwhile, doing what he can against Mouse, but Scout has to go down into the zonies, and there's a trap. Uzi is ready for him to come back up. Finds 1, finds 2, jumps onto the backlines, looking for the kill onto Fireloli. RNG as well, 2 more kills, take down the inhibitor, and they're looking to close.
And that is it. EDG's split right before their eyes is being decimated by Uzi's Caitlyn of all things.
Uzi is still zoning away Meiko, and look at the damage, forcing him back onto the spawn pad. Zet turning it around, turns onto XiaoHu. Does he have it in the tank? No, he does not. And the kill goes down. Fireloli is dead, but it is a 5 for 1. And RNG turn onto the Nexus. We'll take this down, remove EDG from the competition, and punch in their tickets to Nanjing, China.
Welcome back to the LPL Finals, Uzi. You get your chance. You can finally put that trophy in your case. It's just you and Team WE now.
Some crushed faces on the side of EDG. They were so close. But a big grin on the side of Uzi. He was serious all the way up until this point, and now he lets himself have that little chance there just to embrace the victory. But courteous as always, EDG go down with grace. And we'll move on to the 3rd place match now against OMG.
And frankly, it's looking that MSI is just the year of RNG. Every time they step up big when it comes for this tournament. Yes, they still have another opponent in front of them, but they have a massive fan base behind them and so much momentum because they made that look strikingly easy.
I'll be honest, Ross, it looked like the people we just saw were EDG fans. Just there. The cameraman, he's losing it as well, man. I mean, what a crazy victory to RNG. 3-1. And taking down a legacy, a dynasty here today in the semi-finals. This could have easily been in the previous split, a finals game.
And EDG, they've had a pretty turbulent series, you know, up and down, never, you know, leaving that top 4 position, but it is not the same EDG of old. This is not a team that the global audience is going to be familiar with. RNG, though, you know, picking up Ming, picking up LetME, losing Looper and Mata, a lot of people said that this team is going to fundamentally get worse, that there's no way that they can continue to compete and be the top team in the LPL, and just proving everyone wrong with 2 rookies.
That Chinese bloodline remains strong, and EDG get taken out of the finals. What a crazy line to say. Previous splits, EDG not dropped a single series domestically until this split, and RNG in the semi-finals take them out.
And it all goes back to really that loss against QG, the fact that EDG couldn't secure themselves on the other side of the bracket and dodge their greatest rivals in RNG and really fall at the hands of Uzi's Caitlyn's of all things.
It really was Uzi just stepping up and executing EDG at the end there with that crazy Caitlyn performance, and it was him ramping up. They lost the early game, but it didn't matter because Uzi will net you win. Sometimes he'll just do that because he is Uzi. And I just want to take a second just to revel in the fact that RNG, this full Chinese roster, have made it to the finals.
We had 2 all-Chinese rosters, the only 2 in the league that made the top 4. OMG unfortunately fell to Team WE earlier on today, although WE looking great, so congratulations to their fans as well. But now at least we got 1 all-Chinese roster, and it is definitely a conversation point and a huge thing in China right now that the Chinese fans want to see the Chinese team succeed. There's a point of saying, you know, you can keep importing these B-tier Koreans, you can bring the superstars, but at the end of the day, the Chinese talent will be what propels the LPL forward, and RNG actually get the chance to cement that. If they can take down Team WE, it would be a big talking point for the rest of the LPL.
It would, but that series is going to be intense. That best of 5, that could very easily go to 5 games. In fact, I am expecting a full 5 games coming out of those 2 teams because RNG, they have incredible star power. I mean, that's always what they'll have over WE, but WE, those players have gotten better and better. And when they come together, that is really the strength of WE. So if RNG can overcome that when they come mid-game and late game, that was to speak more towards the Chinese talent and what RNG are as a legacy, as the start of the building blocks as we look towards even the second season and Worlds.
It's also the 2 Chinese mid laners in XiaoHu and Xie. You know, these guys were unknown, no names, hyped up a bit. Xie, a Twisted Fate one-trick, XiaoHu, formerly known as Angel Beats, kind of rising on the Korean ladder ranking. But for them to kind of ascend to taking over the thrones of the likes of the Messiahs, of the Cools, of the Whites even, and becoming the new, you know, premier Chinese mid-lane talent is a big deal to their region and a big deal to their pride.
It's huge. And on the opposite side, you look towards even some of the new blood on the side of RNG, but we're going to take a second to look at some of the old blood. And it's going to be Uzi. 7, 0, and 4. Could not have been anyone else as he takes the MVP. His 5th one off the split here is AD carry.
Yeah, no surprise that they were going to give Uzi an MVP in this series, taking down EDG.
How could they not?
It just takes
regardless
so
of how
sweet.
he does.
But
he goes 0-10. Give him the MVP.
I do want to give props to his front line, because while Uzi was doing so much work in those team fights, it was facilitated so well by Mlxg. And like this replay, that's all set up by Mlxg. Yeah, Uzi's doing all the work, but he's got this giant Gragas just beautifully zoning and facilitating everything in front of him.
I mean, don't forget the Great Wall of China that just also propped up in front of him. I mean, XiaoHu was also putting in so much work for the team, and it was made easy for Uzi, but that is what RNG do for the team. They set him up for success, you know, and he has a team around him that can do that. One of the criticisms coming into this game was, how is RNG going to do with Uzi back in the lineup? This is the first time we're actually seeing this whole lineup go head-to-head against an incredibly difficult team for a long time while the stakes are actually on the line. It was like 3 weeks of them being locked in first place. We didn't see RNG play at full potential. We saw Mlxg out for a week, saw Uzi out for a week, and then they come back together. We saw some highlights, some lowlights from them. But when they came into this, I mean, that was the true strength of RNG.
And really the telling day of the series is the fact that 3 MVPs went to all 3 different lanes of RNG. You had an MVP to XiaoHu, 1 to LetME, and then 1 to Uzi. So it just goes back to the storyline and to the true power of RNG, that they can choose where and when they beat you and how they're going to do it. You know, Mlxg, this time around, I'm going to camp XiaoHu's lane, and we're going to beat you with our all-star mid laner. This time around, I'm going to go to our carry top laner. No one's going to see this guy coming. We think that he's a downgrade from Looper, but if you put him on Fizz, if you put him on Kled, this guy goes off. And then there's always Uzi sitting in the pocket.
Yeah, every single time. When they go up against WE, though, even topside, funny enough, that could be something that RNG could exploit, because LetME has shown time and time again when he is put on those picks that he is familiar with, that he just completely outclass those top laners in the top teams right now.
What's really interesting is that 957 versus LetME kind of have the same problem, but on different sides of the spectrum. 957 really struggles when he doesn't get put on those tanky champions. So again, this idea of a limited effective champion pool, whereas LetME struggles if he's not put on the carry champions. Like, they can't bridge to meet each other.
Yeah, at the same time, in the bottom lane though, I mean, I feel like we just have to go through every single lane when we talk about this matchup, because like Mystic up against Uzi is going to be incredibly hype as well. We had the highlight clip today where Mystic was on 5% HP and killed an Ahri from full. Like, seeing those 2 AD carries go toe-to-toe, if they come out even coming into the mid game, is going to be so hype.
They both absorb so many resources, and they both have rookie support sitting next to them. You know, Ben coming in, taking over for Zero, Ming being pretty much homegrown and raised by RNG to be their new shot caller that takes over from Mata. So there's, again, a high-pressure situation for Ben and Ming. They've come this far throughout their series. They've looked impressive. They look good on stage, but hopefully the jitters don't get to them, you know, under the big lights in that gymnasium.
Let's take a second to talk about the third place match, though. It is OMG up against EDG. And
I know
it's
you
almost
had to think about it. You're like, EDG can't be in a third
wait
place
a minute.
match.
It always felt like the first sentence that came out of my mouth was wrong, but it is true. And it's almost like almost a repeat of finals, right? You have this full Chinese roster going up against EDG right here, trying to make it work for them as they come together and have these great team games. So it's going to be a very similar series, actually, to how the finals are going to turn out.
And that's one of the things that EDG really struggle with. We called it indecision, but really it comes down to kind of communication, that split-second decision-making. And the all-Chinese rosters don't suffer from that. The likes of OMG, RNG, they will turn on a dime. They will, as soon as they see a weakness, they'll jump on it and they'll tear you apart. They're very heavy, very fast-paced, very skirmish-oriented teams. I just feel like it's exploiting EDG's weakness. You know, their mid-game, bit flawed. Late game, they can come back with the 5v5 team fighting, but if they don't get snowballed early game, they just seem to disappear or fall apart.
It really is about that early game, though, because we saw it in Game 2 when EDG actually took that win. It was based around the early game. Once they had it, they were not letting go. And if they do that against OMG, they can completely shut them out of the series. And I know going into this playoffs for us, I would be like, well, if they get ahead in the early game, I wouldn't say well, but when they get into that early game, OMG, if they start shattering as a lineup and they actually can't come back, that is a major problem for the team because they have these young players. You could even say the same about EDG, but clearly both of those teams in the series that we've seen over the course of today have shown that they do have that tenacity.
Yeah, I just feel like it's going to be really difficult for EDG if they play like they did today, just because World 6, I mean, he's a very aggressive, very heavy-handed jungler. He's going to invade you, he's going to fight you, and he will find you. And OMG are not afraid to look for the dives. You know, EDG, they were constantly hesitating, second-guessing themselves, maybe trying to set up the play to its fullest extent before they pulled the trigger. OMG are not that case. And when it fails, it snowballs on them very quickly. But when it goes right, they look like gods.
Yeah, so it could actually be like an either very long series or very a short one. I would be very interested to see how a pick like the Ivan or even a composition like that from EDG would even work against them. But regardless, we are going to close the show right there. So tomorrow we'll be coming back with the third place match. So the week of LPL is not going to stop right there. I mean, we've come out of week 10 and we're still going right now. So it's going to be like day 10, day 11 of that. But it's going to be a crazy run. Tomorrow, make sure to tune in for that one. Another best of 5 in the third place. And Don will be bringing it on one as well. So make sure to tune in. Thank you very much for watching. I'm getting tired. We need to close the show. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.